Good afternoon. How are you today? This morning I went for a swim in a pool. I was the only one in the pool. Had the 4 lanes to myself and my own personal lifeguard. It was pleasant. I always feel that, I've said this before, that swimming seems to organize me completely. Walking does too, and it's pleasant today because it's like 70. And at the rate we're going now, by Sunday when it's spring, there'll be lots of green and bulbs popping out and all sorts of wonderful stuff. You can hear birds singing, and so and I've seen more animals out. I don't know where they've been hiding, but they're out now. So the shame of our existence is what's happening in Ukraine, of course. There are reports, however, that there's been very serious resistance by the capital and elsewhere. But there are also terrible things going on, like in Mariupol, the theater was bombed and destroyed, and 130 survived, but there were 1,300 people who are unaccounted for. So it made me think of those stories, which are also true, in which in one or other heinous acts perpetrated by whoever chooses such inhumane conduct, you have people inside a church or a building and they're locked in and they burn it to the ground. But imagine that people are in this building and they hear something, and instantaneously almost the building collapses in on them. What kind of person ever connected to humanity does such a thing? People keep talking about war crimes. War is a crime. It is a crime against reason. It is a crime against all the possible alternatives one can research. It is an emotional choice, often rage and anger, revenge, all of the ugly sins that we supposedly fight to avoid. And almost the only way to counter it is with violence yourself. And then how far do you go, and what's allowed in a procedure that has no real rules? We shout them at each other, but after the first shot, we've broken down all possibilities of negotiation on the things that are claimed to be the reason why we're in war. Here at home, we have Republicans who are critical of Biden, and I'm not troubled by being critical of Biden, but I am troubled by double messages. You know, the Republicans voted against a $13.6 billion package for arms and equipment and things like that for Ukraine, and then they attack Biden for not doing more. Well, I think you can be consistent. You can vote for the funds and you can be critical. But there's a line, and the line is when you consider this madman Putin a genius, and it's not just Trump who believes that, it's members of the Republican caucus. And, you know, dare I say it, when Lindsey Graham says that they should get their act together and be consistent, and I guess he is an example of a person who thinks we should forward the jets and we should have no-fly zones, but he also voted for the bill for the funds. So there are strange things happening. Now, I don't expect the random walk of Lindsey Graham ever to make sense, because he seems to be a perpetual opportunist. And so he always sees some angle in it. So even when he does something you think is okay, it's always compromised in some crazy fashion. There was at least one floor speech by Senator Scott in which he personally went after Putin. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said that. Personally went after Biden. Maybe I'm thinking of him as Putin and a Putin supporter for doing this. But he said that Biden was heartless. Of the things that I can imagine about Biden, I do not believe he's heartless. Over the years, I've always thought he has two speeds. One is a little bit of that Irish strength in which he, asserts a position that's good for all mankind. For a second, it sounded like there was a tank coming down on us. And then there is this comforting one, this sensitive one, this one where he shows himself to be feeling what another person is suffering. And I don't for an instant think that his position is heartless. And he's been working this day and night in a disagreement with a person over what you think should happen without all the information that, Biden feels is pertinent to his decision does not make him heartless. So it makes me furious that he would be attacked doing the best he can in an impossible situation in which we're trying to walk a line between the fear of a nuclear war by a person, Putin, who has shown himself to be, I think, erratic. This is his last chance, I think he may believe, to reunite the Soviets. And once he enters into that program, you can't expect him to be constructive in peace talks because he doesn't want peace. He wants victory. By the same token, the encouraging words we hear from China, I don't think we can believe those, because China at one point was mentioned as a possible mediator for how we settle this affair. So we don't know that we can trust the communists, except to be communists, to use the truth and the big lie as a way to get what favors them. And but I also think there are reasons that China does not want to be put in that trick seat. Returning home, we have the situation in which we have Meadows being considered for prosecution by state prosecutors in the Carolinas because he voted in 2020 from a trailer where apparently he never lived, never was there, in violation of the law. Now, another prosecutor who wanted to get an edge on him, say a federal prosecutor, say Garland, for instance, would have called him into his office. An assistant U.S. attorney would, of course, would have done it, and asked him about that. We have, I think it's 94 different judicial districts around the country. I don't know if I'm off by one or two. Sometimes there have been changes. And there's certainly a whole bunch of them in the Carolinas. And whoever that U.S. attorney is should be knocking on his door with a subpoena and bring him to the grand jury to answer a few questions. Now, if he decided to cooperate in that situation, that would be terrific. This is a typical investigative and prosecutorial method to get people to cooperate who are in the inside. And he's as close as could be to Trump. And nothing. So you can't just say it's incompetence. It's gone on too long with too many data points to be that. And a state prosecutor should want a federal prosecutor involved because he was voting in a presidential election year. So that's what I got for today. Get out, enjoy the weather. It looks like it could be a terrific weekend. All the best. Bye-bye.